Banks have so much commercial real estate debt on the books right now, and they don't have enough deposits to cover it. So we're going to see the biggest potential default in commercial real estate loans in history in the next 12 to 18 months.
If your entire wealth building strategy for 2024 is just buying real estate, then you might want to watch this whole interview. Today, I sit down with Dana Cornell. Dana was an extremely successful wealth manager for Morgan Stanley, managing over $1.5 billion, billion with a B, billion dollars in assets. At some point, Dana realized that the wealth management industry was really not about managing wealth for their clients, but about building wealth for themselves. And he just didn't want to be a part of it anymore.
There's so many guys that portray a certain level of success or expertise, and it's smoke and mirrors, right?
So he left his dream job to go find a better way. On this episode, he shares the real formula for building wealth.
So whether you're 35, 45, 65, right, the name of the game is still the same. Buy cash flow, don't pay tax. That's what ultra wealthy people do.
He explains what the different types of equity are, what's preferred equity versus...
So basically the bank gets paid first if something went wrong, then there's preferred equity, and then there's true pure equity investment.
And probably most controversially, he explains why you should probably not be investing in commercial real estate right now.
Commercial real estate is going to have trouble. I think most people kind of inherently can see that.
So if making money, building wealth, things like that are important to you, then you're going to want to check out this conversation that I had with Dana Cornell. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Travis Makes Friends podcast. Today, I am sitting down making friends with Dana Cornell. Dana, what's up, dude? Welcome to the show.
It's great to see you, man. Thanks for having me.
You know what? It's good to meet in person. I feel like we've talked a bunch over the last year and a half, 2 years.
For sure.
Hope you get on some podcasts and then talking about developing a show for you and all that good stuff. And through that time, I've seen a lot of the content you're putting out. And the thing is, bro, like I try to, there's so much noise in the online space, especially when it comes to business, making money, business opportunities. And there are so many people that are not qualified to speak into those things, yet they still continue to do so and get a lot of traction doing so, unfortunately.
Sure.
So I like to bring on people who I find sometimes that, maybe you don't have the biggest following, but you should because you actually know what the hell you're talking about. So let's build some context for those people watching or listening that may not know who you are. Go back in time a little bit and let's say 7-8-year-old Dana, set the scene for me. Where were you in the world? What was life like growing up for you?
Yeah, man. So I grew up a small town called Olean, New York, south of Buffalo. I say Buffalo because no one knows where Olean, New York is. About 14,000 people. My dad's an excavation contractor. My mom's a kindergarten teacher. So
you're rolling in the dough growing up then.
Oh, yeah. Just killing it. Yeah. But, we were fine. I didn't know any better anyways.
Sure.
And that was the whole town, basically. So lower middle class, we were comfortable, but certainly didn't grow up with money, didn't know anything about it. One of the best lessons, I worked with my dad every summer when my friends are out screwing around. I've got a shovel in my hand doing that, and he's teaching me a lesson to figure it out if you don't want to work like this the rest of your life. So
sure, dude. Yeah, I definitely remember early days like that. I don't think it was my parents' goal to teach me that lesson. You know what I mean? Right. I think they just wanted to instill hard work in me. And then the lesson that I took away from it was like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right.
Like even working on my own
You
yard.
learn it pretty quick one way or another.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Working on my own yard on Sunday afternoons, Saturdays, and being like, I don't want to have to do this when I grow up. So
that's right.
We'll try to find something else.
I don't do any of that stuff for myself.
Exactly.
I'm with you.
Exactly. Okay, so did you enjoy school? Did you enjoy sports? Was there
I was an athlete, 3 sports in high school, played football in college. That was my
football was the
that was my
sport.
passion.
What position you play?
Played switched from tailback to safety in college.
Okay.
Yep.
So obviously
years.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a great time.
Did you like playing tailback or safety more?
Safety.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
How come?
I'm fast and I can hit hard.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Fitting for a safety, so it worked out all right.
I played tailback my junior year.
Did you?
Of high school, and then switched to fullback my senior year after I gained a little bit of weight. And then this other guy came in who was a little bit faster than I was to play tailback.
Yeah.
But I do remember, dude, it sucks with football because I feel like my son is 4 and I loved playing football, but it's like I'm really cautious of getting my son interested in it because of it's just so rife with injuries and like CTEs are a real thing. There's a lot of there's just a lot more science about it now than we had when I was growing up or when you were growing up. And now that we have the science, that's like, I don't know, like in good conscience and continue to encourage my kid to
I just told this story yesterday. So I'd had a pretty bad concussion in high school.
Did you?
And, back then you got your bell rung, and if you're okay, you go back in the game.
Yeah,
and I got the second one in the same game, had to go to a specialist. And the guy says, "You going to play in college?" And I'm 16 at the time. Like, I don't know. Hope so, but I don't know.
Right. That'd be sweet.
It's like, well, take this pill before every game and don't play in college. Like, looking back, like, that's terrible advice. It's horrible. Of course, I played in college, went on to get other concussions, and who knows the after effects. So,
yeah,
having a 4 and a 5-year-old, 2 boys, I get it, man.
Yeah. Are you, is there like a certain sport that you're kind of like, yeah, go try this one out?
Right now we're trying all of them.
Yeah.
Right. That's the beauty of that age. It's t-ball, it's basketball, it's soccer, it's all the things. So.
I played a lot of basketball growing up. That was kind of my sport.
Yep.
And so I would love to see them play basketball, but I told my wife, like, the non-negotiable for me, for both my daughter and my son, I was like, they can play whatever sport they want to play in addition to golf. It's like, you gotta play golf. Cause like now as a, 31-year-old, I wish I would have spent more of my time growing up playing golf than I did playing basketball. Cause like I play basketball on the weekends and I've a really good time doing it, and it's the best conditioning in the world. Yeah. It's the best cardio that you can do. And I still play on the weekends, still play pickup here and there and whatever. Awesome. But golf is something that you can use and play till you're 90. Like literally till my grandpa is 93. It's been a couple years since we played, but like literally when he was 90, 91, he would go out and hit 9 holes with me. Yeah. And like do pretty well. He's like, he doesn't hit far, but he hits straight because he's got the technique.
He's playing old man golf. Yep. He knows what's up.
Drive 160 right down the middle of the fairway. He still ends up better than me.
Spraying balls all over like us.
I'm driving 290 like up on the right, the other hole and shit. You know what I mean? And he's like just straight down the fairway.
Yep. That's right.
But he gets a bogey every hole, and he's just out there happy to be out playing golf.
Yeah.
Like, man, I missed out.
You're
on
right.
that. I wish I would have played a little bit more golf.
My dad didn't play. I started playing, in business.
Yeah.
That was how I grew
super
my first
helpful
business.
In that sense. Yep.
And you wish then you started playing when you were little. And thankfully my boys love it. And selfishly,
nice.
it as a father.
Yeah, dude.
Selfishly, I want to be that old guy out there playing playing golf with those kids.
Plus I was like, selfishly, if I could like choose a sport for my kid to play professionally, it would be golf.
Oh, for
just
sure.
Because like I can travel and go watch them play golf at the most pristine courses in the fucking world. Like I
can
show
Dad
up.
get on tomorrow?
Exactly. Yeah. Like before the tournament starts, the course is in the best condition it'll be in all year because they made it that way for the PGA. You just show up a couple days before, hit a quick 18. Like, man, that's the dream right there. It's better than going to a bunch of sweaty basketball gyms in the middle.
Made Dad proud, kid. Made Dad proud.
Plus, my daughter can play it too, and she can.
That's awesome.
It's also a really good for her to know how to play. There's so many advantages that you can get from just playing games like that, golf or poker, even like things like that can put you in rooms or get you in front of people that you normally just wouldn't be able to get in front of. And there's so much additional value to that.
And the mental toughness from individual sports.
Sports, yeah. I never played any individual sports in like tournament style or anything like that. So I can't imagine that would, I can't imagine the pressure of that would, turn you into a diamond like pretty quickly. If you're going to stick in the sport.
Yeah, I'm stressed out at the club member guest tournament. So
yeah, we're just playing a scramble for shots at the end, and I'm like sweating up on the tee. Yeah. Okay, so like playing sports a lot, and then college. What was college like for you?
Yeah, I went to college. College was great.
Was that like did your parents kind of really push college, or was it kind of like do what you need to do what you want to do?
Yeah, they were encouraging of whatever I was going to do.
Okay,
it wasn't really a question of college or not college. I didn't think I was going to end up doing what I did, honestly. Okay. So, but college was great, man. College was fun. Playing a sport in college is a hell of an experience, and we had a great time. Brockport State, small state school outside of Rochester, New York.
Okay, gotcha. So, what was your major?
Ended up business administration with finance. I stretched it out a bit. Okay, I threw that extra year in there. I ended up finance, accounting, and pre-law.
How did you find your experience with the education piece, the knowledge base that you got from college? Like if you had just left with that without the sports, the experiences and the friendships and networking that you got, like would it have been worth it just for the body?
It's funny. We just had my little cousins asking me my opinion of should I go to college or should I just go buy a business? Because he hears me preach the benefits of acquiring a business and acquiring 40 years of somebody's hard work and labor. It's a hard question to answer, right?
Sure.
It gives you a basis of knowledge, but can I say today I lean on what I learned there, and did I take it all that seriously? No.
Yeah.
Hell no.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Especially now as a parent, I'm always look at it through this like selfish lenses of how I'm going to teach my kids because I still don't know. It's like I hope I'll figure it out before they're 15, 16, 17, 18 and actually really get into the crux of the decision-making time of their lives in that sense. But right now I'm all over the place on it. Like it seems like every day I have a different conversation with somebody that's like, and I'm almost to the point now where it's like, unless it's going to be something like lawyer, doctor, where like you kind of have to go to a school and get a degree and ideally a good school because it's going to depict how your career is going to go and things like that. Barring that, it seems like the only real way that it works, especially for like business or entrepreneurship or finance or any of these things, is if you're going to these super expensive kind of more Ivy League type 100%. Schools, because it's not even necessarily just the education piece. It's also just the relationships that you're building there.
Much more so.
And then it's the name on your resume that gets you
the door opener.
Yeah, the door somewhere. Where you can actually go do something with it. But that's also like, to me, it's like, that's if you want to be employed at a high level as well. It's like you can make a shit ton of money being a consultant at a firm or, working for a big four you can make a good amount of money doing that, but you are still going to be an employee.
Yeah.
Like, don't get it wrong. Like you will be in the office 75 hours a week. So like that to me is still not as good of a path as entrepreneurship where you can buy somebody else's business and then like fix it up, make it better, put some lipstick on it and then like actually cash flow.
I tend to agree.
About what you're making, and then you can go do what you want to do and you can play golf with your kids and, live the lifestyle that you want to live. But yeah, I go back and forth on it all the time, man. It's just like, there could be so many benefits that come from it, but also you're saddling yourself to $250,000 in debt. Like I'm not going to pay for it for you. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Especially it's not a knock on a psychology degree or, but
sure.
Spend that amount doesn't always equate to your,
you
your
graduate
earning
with a
potential
mortgage
when you come out. Yeah. It's crazy.
Mortgage payment that you can't file bankruptcy to get out of. And you're saddled to that until it's off your plate.
Right.
So like the things that you could be doing with your additional money is actually going to pay your school bill when it could be going into alternative investments or like putting some money here or setting some money aside for this or some personal development things or a coach or whatever. It's like you're putting this into this thing that, it's just it's so hit and miss, and I told my wife, I was like, I don't think that I want to, if my kids do want to go to school, I don't think that I want to pay for it for them. If I'm being honest, like I again, that could totally change by that time. And we're going to be putting money away for them either way, but I would rather put money away for them and then teach them to invest that money rather than, spend it on a $200,000 education that they think they need, but then they go get a degree in something that doesn't really matter. And then they end up having to come out of school and go be, a welder anyway. And it's like, well, you could have just done that and skip the $200K in debt.
100%.
It's like, if you don't teach your kids the gravity of how much money they're spending because it's your money that they're spending, then they're not going to take it as seriously. Like they don't have the risk of putting $200K in its degree. That's not going to do anything for them.
Yeah.
But then in 5 years, they're going to come back and live at my house. So it's like, I paid $200K for your degree, so you can come live at my house and I can pay your bills for the next 5 years.
Let me get this straight. You didn't make the PGA Tour. You spent $200,000 on my money and you're back here.
This is a bad deal for me. Yeah. Get the fuck out. We'll figure it out, man. Man.
I agree though, man. Yeah. I mean, the practical skills, the whole education system, in my opinion, is completely fucked.
Yeah.
It's broken.
Yeah.
You
worry too, definitely about the just ideology of a lot of like these leftist kind of leaning campuses. It's like, look, I'm very much a person that's like, go get other people's opinions, like especially for my kids. Like I want them, like obviously I would love for them to end up on a lot of the same pages that I've ended up on, just because that would be better for our relationship. But if they don't, I'm okay with that. And I want them to hear other people's perspectives and opinions, but in a space where they can actually parse through other people's opinions and decide what's right for them, not be beaten over the head until they acquiesce to whatever this guy's saying is the truth.
Right.
When all this person's ever done is like stand behind a lecture pulpit for 25 years, never actually had to do anything in the real world, doesn't understand. Like you can spew ideology all day, but like it's called idealism for a reason. Like it doesn't actually work in the real world. And if you've ever been in the real world, you never had to come across, like you never had to like combat that head on. So it's easy to just like keep, proliferating these just like
for sure
tropes and lies that aren't going to actually benefit my kid, but could get into his psyche and change the way he thinks about, the world in a negative way. So it's like, there's also that to consider, but it's just,
it's hard to beat
tough,
practical hands-on experience though.
Yeah.
In whatever you're doing.
True. It's like, it's kind of almost like the requirement. It's like, sure, go to school, but also like while you're there, that's why I like the door-to-door summer program so much. And I feel like everybody says this, but like everybody that does something that that was a good experience says like everybody should do this for a X period of time. Anybody who's ever like been in a wait staff or like been a waiter or bartender or something, like it's like everybody should work in food service for at least a year or whatever. It's like, okay, well, easy for you to say because that's what you did. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I understand it's probably a good, like a good job to have, teaches you some social skills. It's in an industry that you're going to be consuming for the rest of your life, and it like gives you a perspective from the other side of the table. I get why you're saying it, but also like there's a lot of other things that you can do. I was listening to Chris Williams' podcast this morning. He's he's turned into one of my favorite podcasters, and he used to be a club promoter.
Okay.
Club promoter. And he said the same thing. He's like, I think everybody should be a club promoter for like 3 months because, of these reasons. And it was like, ultimately it's anything that makes you put yourself into an uncomfortable environment where you have to speak to people and come up with stuff out of nothing.
Yeah.
Like that to me is like the thing. So for me, it was door to door. I had 5-6 years of 100% commission door-to-door sales. And like, there's not many other things that will teach you how to cut your teeth and talk to people in that small of a feedback loop as door-to-door sales will.
That's how I built my first business. So I'm with you, man.
Really? Yeah. Nice. So, and let's talk about that in a second. So like that to me is like, that's what I'm looking at is like, you sure go get an education, but also while you're there, you got to do real world things, telemarketing, real estate sales, door to door
sales, right?
Something
sales
like
rules
that.
The world.
Club promoting, whatever, even like being a waiter or waitress is, if you can be good at it and work somewhere that actually gives you opportunity and teaches you these things and, puts you in front of wealthy people at the table rather than like being a Burger King or whatever.
Right.
Like if you can get in those environments, like that's also a sales job.
Yep.
Like upselling entrees and desserts and like learning how to use your words to influence people is a skill that will take you into every single part of your career. So whatever that looks like, do that
100%
for at least some period of time. You know what I mean? So yeah, tell me about your experience door to door.
Oh man. So I get out of college, think I'm dead set on law school. Just it's funny what we just talked about, because my parents are like, look, we helped you through your undergrad. We are not paying for law school. Figure this out. I'm like, oh shit. Okay. Let me rethink this. So I deferred law school for a year, and I figured I would try finance because it didn't cost me anything. And if I gave myself a year, if it didn't work out, I would know my path and carry on with law school.
Sure.
Went to a company called Edward Jones, and their business model is you start out knocking on doors. And it was perfect for me because coming from a small town that's not a wealthy town anymore, I didn't know anyone that had money.
Yep.
Which is funny now looking back at the business I built, and I managed $1.4 billion at Morgan Stanley, Forbes 40 under 40, best advisors in the state, all these big things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But I'm still a kid from a small town that grew up with a shovel in his hand and
with no connection.
And I had to start knocking on doors to build a list of people to talk to.
So is this like business to business knocking on doors? Like who was your clientele? Who was your
business owners and residences?
Okay. So you were literally going to houses.
Oh yeah.
Door to door houses.
Yeah. I'd get confused for being a Jehovah's Witness. Yeah. That was a funny day and a half of people slamming doors in my face.
Wearing a tie out there.
Yeah. So I've got, this is November, December, January in Western New York. Yeah. It's freezing. I have long johns on under my way oversized suit, and I'm out knocking on doors, just finding as many people as I can just to have conversations. And just like we just talked about, right? To be able to think on your feet, have a conversation, adapt in the moment, and get used to rejection. Right?
Dude, that's
and how to deal with that. That's gold.
Like rapport and rejection to me is like those are the lessons that you just,
100%.
you have to learn them or you will quit.
And you don't get it in a book.
Exactly. And you won't, it won't take you 6 months to quit. It'll take you 4 days.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like the average door-to-door salesperson lasts for less than a month. You know, it's like less than a week a lot of times. And when we would train, that was kind of what I would teach people who were trying to build teams. Like as I would build teams, and then people would ask me about building teams, and I'd be like, they would do their first couple of recruits. And it's like, if you don't get them a sale in the first like 48 to 72 hours, they're done.
Mm-hmm.
They gotta draw blood. They gotta taste blood quickly, or they're not going to stick in this game. It is a brutal game to stay in. But if you can stick in it and like persist past that time period, then it can be one of the best like things that you do.
And the high when you get that first sale though.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. It's like, especially like that first paycheck.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, this was like way more than any of my friends are making you know, at 19
sure.
or 20 years old. That's what I mean is like you get that first taste of blood and it's like, oh, well, you know, I call it the, you know, your rejection bank. It's like you put a massive deposit in the rejection bank every time you get that paycheck or you get that big win. It's like you taste blood. It's like, boom, huge deposit in the rejection bank. Now I feel like I'm bulletproof, at least for a certain period of time, right? So now I can go back out, get no, but I can be like, yeah, but I just made like $3,500 last week.
Right.
You know what I mean? When like my friends are working at Burger King for 8 weeks to make that.
And then it reframes your mind.
Totally.
I knew if I talked to 25 people, it's going to take me 23 no's to get to a yes.
Yep. That's exactly it, dude. I started
like,
teaching my people to do the math. I was just like, all you got to do is do the math and focus on the math, not the emotion. It's like, do the math. How many doors does it take for you to get a deal? At first, it's going to be a lot. It might be 100. It might be 150. It might be 200.
Yep.
But there is a number. You know what I'm saying? Like you will convert a sale at some point. You will, 100%. It's not a matter of if, it is a matter of when.
Yep.
It's just a matter of like, can you withstand the no's until you get to that? But once you get to the yes, now you can do the math. Okay, it took me X amount of doors. All I got to do is knock this amount of doors more and I will get another deal. But the beautiful thing is that the more you do it, the better you get.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it doesn't take me 150 doors. It takes me 100 and then it takes me 50. And then like you're saying at the end, it's like, man, like we can go to a neighborhood. I can cherry pick 10 houses. And I know that if I cherry pick the right houses, I'll walk out with a couple deals.
Yeah.
Like you just start getting really, really good at it. How long did you do the door-to-door thing for?
So, it probably was, I mean, it worked for me, right? And I resonated. I hated it.
Yeah.
Like everyone. And then you see the results like you just explained. So by the end of it, I'd knocked on 1,800 doors in the first 6-8 months.
Nice.
But I did that for the first 5 years of my career, way past when I needed to, just because.
Wow. All residences.
Residents and businesses.
Okay.
So I'd hit business owners in the morning because they're usually the first ones in there getting things ready for the day.
Yep.
Catch them before they got too busy and would be annoyed that I'd walk in and, try and start a conversation. And then I'd hit neighborhoods.
So like businesses in the morning, neighborhoods in the afternoon.
Yep.
And what was your pitch? Like what were you were selling just financial management or wealth management or?
So at the time I wasn't selling anything. Okay. So my thought process was people have gotten away from face-to-face interaction at this time. You know, I want to go up, shake their hand. And primarily my clientele is retirement type people, right? Mm-hmm. So they're used to looking you in the eye, shake your hand,
sure,
right? Have a real conversation. So I just quite simply just simplified it and said, hey, I just want to introduce myself, starting a business in the area, and then get curious, right?
Got it.
That's the way to sell. Start asking questions and find some pain points along the way. So I started asking them questions about what are they concerned about? Who do they do business with in town? What did they like about them? What did they not? You know, are you interested in something? And okay, well, if I see something that may interest you on that, I'll follow up. Right.
Interesting. So
and open the door for another interaction.
Okay. So you were trying, at first you were just trying to build rapport and sell an appointment. Like let's sit down and see if there's something.
Eventually. I mean, quite honestly, at first I just needed people to talk to.
Yeah.
Right. Because I'm learning it. So I don't even know what to say. I don't know what people want to hear. I don't know what their pain points are.
Right.
So I figured I just needed to have enough conversations.
Yeah.
That there'd be common themes along these conversations that I could then pinpoint.
That's, I mean, that's the difference, right? Between you and people who don't figure it out is like most people, you just got a 100% commission job, right? This is what it was.
Yeah. It was a minor salary, if you call it that. I
mean, they're paying you a draw, basically like $1,100 a month. Yep. And then once you get commission past it, you get paid just commission instead of your draw.
Exactly. Yep.
But basically, like, if you're only draw for 3 months, you're fired. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly.
Like, they put
That's
in
it.
turn
Yeah.
quickly. It's like, you are not meant to live
That's
off of this
exactly
draw.
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they didn't give you like lists or like they didn't give you anything to go off of. They're just like, hey, we sell whatever. Did you have to get licensed, like insurance? Yep. So you were selling
Series
insurance.
763 insurance license.
Okay. Gotcha.
So it's full wealth management.
Okay. Got it.
You know, with training wheels on, basically.
And what company was this?
It was Edward Jones Investments.
Okay.
Yep.
So then you're just basically like, I got to go sell stuff. I have 0 prospects. How do I go sell stuff?
That's
and
it.
Then that's what I love about it, dude. That's why I always loved door to door. There was a manager that I had, or somebody that was kind of a mentor when I was doing it. And he was like, the coolest thing about door to door salespeople to me, man, he's like, we're the only people in the world that can just go make business out of nothing.
Yeah.
Like, that turn nothing into business. And it's like, yeah, marketers do that a lot as well, but marketers aren't typically the ones that are closing the deals too. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yep.
they're generating the lead, they're generating interest, and they pass it off to somebody else. But like, he's like, door-to-door salespeople, he's like, there are marketers and salespeople in one unit. They can just go out into a neighborhood and then walk away with customers.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you can learn that skill, that will be applicable for the rest of your career.
Yeah.
And obviously that's how it was for you. You said you did it for 5 years.
Yeah. Probably the first 5 years of my career, you know, just really to stay sharp and stay, you know, it's easy to sit in your office and hope the phone rings.
Right.
So just to stay hungry and stay sharp, I continued to do it. And it's the fastest way you'd get results.
Do you remember your first deal?
Yeah. I got somebody gave me a check. We started a 529 college savings plan for $250, and I thought I'd made it.
Okay.
Got one in the door.
Yeah.
Ring the bell. And then I had a lady, so we would take those names and you'd go to a training at the home office, and you'd have to call all these people and ask them to buy something on the phone.
Mm.
And this lady bought a $5,000 tax-free bond from me. Right.
Nice.
I'm like, holy shit. This lady actually just said yes and gave me $5,000 after one conversation.
The belief, man.
Yeah.
Takes
and
that
it just
belief.
scales up from there, and that turned into a $1.4 billion. You know?
So at what point did you make the switch over to, what was the company that you were managing for?
I ended up with Morgan Stanley.
Morgan Stanley. When did that transition come?
So I got off to a fast start because of that with Edward Jones. I had a big office, great team at what was then Smith Barney in my hometown.
Okay. Didn't
plan to go back there. Great opportunity.
Interesting.
It looked like the old regime might retire. I could inherit some of that or buy them out.
So it's kind of like you started off as basically just a rep. You were doing really well. You started training other people. You kind of had your own team, and then you grew into like, I'm ready for my own office, and this area is available.
Yeah, and I knew, so Edward Jones was a great company, it still is, but they're limited in what they offer. They serve a certain level of client, and I saw a need to go deeper, and at the time it was managed money.
Okay.
Right? Moving away from commission-based to a fee-based model, and they didn't offer that. So I was looking for a change. These guys happened to call. They wanted a young, hungry guy to come back because it's hard to get someone to come to a small town in Western New York.
Sure.
All my family's there. So that's how that started. And then it just continued to scale, and the checks got bigger. And
did you at any point shift your personal clientele to like, I'm only, working with people that are doing this type of what?
Yeah. So as I built, what I think set me apart and got me out to the start and the career that I've had at Morgan Stanley and since then is most advisors will stop at the sales side of the business. They don't hone their skill set, right? So this goes back to college, right? I don't think college, my business degree didn't teach me much, gave me some basic economic fundamentals, shit like that. But I have a Certified Financial Planner designation and Certified Investment Management Analyst.
Okay.
So probably the stats are like 1% of advisors have that combination of knowledge base.
Gotcha.
And it's intensive to get both of those. Right. So I had a different level of expertise. So that naturally positioned me to work with wealthier and wealthier clients. That's why I ended up in the family wealth division of Morgan Stanley, dealing with what they term ultra high net worth.
Got it. So when you made that switch, did you have to change a lot about who you were or how you showed up?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny fighting the mental coming from a small town, not knowing money, not coming from money, and now managing $1 billion plus by the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got to change your mindset.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
And
you're fighting that you're just this little kid from this small town, and you know, this wasn't your world.
Yeah.
Well, it became my world. I willed that into existence, you know?
right. Well, I found the consumer base, like the way that you talk to somebody when you're going door to door knocking on residences is much different than the way that you're going to talk to somebody who's managing a $200 million family office.
For sure.
Right. So this is like a conversation I've had with people where I didn't really realize that, you know, like when I was doing sales before, it was like, it's sales is sales, sales is sales. And it's like, well, no, not really. You know, like there's a big difference between this like transactional burn and turn door to door game and this like very relational, like you're fishing in a small pool at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like you can learn on the fly and go door to door, and you can never run out of doors to knock on.
That's it.
You will just knock, 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 knock. You could do it for your entire career, make a good living, and never run out of doors to knock on.
Yeah.
Whereas over here, you can't just burn and turn. You can't piss off people. You can't get into yelling matches in their driveway. You know, you can't do the shenanigans that you do as a door to door salesperson. You know what I mean? Like, or else your reputation's burned. You can't do business with anybody, right?
Yep.
So what are some communication tips or some communication advice with regards to speaking to high level people for those out there who want to change the quality of the people that they're hanging out with?
Yeah, it's a great question, man. So, you know, I think your skill set naturally gravitates you towards, or people will gravitate towards you, is probably the right way to say it, when you have a certain level of expertise. And that's what I realized. So I was always trying to refine my craft. And by doing that, that allowed me to go deeper with people, serve a higher level of net worth because they have more complex needs.
And that's what you meant by going beyond the sale?
Beyond the sale, yeah.
Yeah. Just like getting good at the actual like craft.
It's the execution after that, right? And then the sale becomes a referral. I'm not chasing people. People want to become part of my clientele because I serve a very specific niche and have these specific results. And now you have a track record, right? So if you stay consistent and consistently grow and evolve in your skill set, you're naturally going to move up market. And that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
And to answer your question, those conversations evolve as you go, right?
What does that mean?
So, you know, when I started out, I was what I would call a retail advisor, where everybody starts. You're cutting your teeth. You're just starting to learn. I told you my first check, $250, right? We're not talking $1,000. It's $250 in a college savings
that you worked
right?
And hours and hours for. Yeah.
Okay. How do I set up that account? How do I not screw this up? You know, then we're talking to prospects with 250 million liquid net worth, right? Their mindset, their needs, their knowledge out of the gate to get there is different. So you have to get on their level, right? So now we're talking advanced tax planning, estate planning, like deep structural, very detailed offerings and solutions, right? Where it doesn't fit the guy I used to work with, right? They don't have that need.
So basically point one is know your shit.
Yeah.
Like you're going to get sniffed out if if you can get, this is what I try to tell people is like getting your foot in the door is really difficult.
Yeah.
Staying in the room after you get your foot in the door is even more difficult.
You deserve to be there.
Exactly. Cause you're going to get kicked out. Like high level people can sniff out fakes. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't just hang in that circle for too long without people being like, what are you?
That's why wealth management is broken in so many ways. And that's why people think I'm insane because I walked away from all of that.
Yeah.
But there's just a better way to do it, right? And I didn't feel good about what was happening there. And there's so many good advisors, right?
Sure.
But there's so many guys that portray a certain level of success or expertise, and it's smoke and mirrors, right? They just want the assets under management, to charge the fee.
Yep.
There's no substance behind it.
Yeah,
right?
they're just really good at selling.
and that's why people are inherently distrusting of financial services and their advisor. And when I do talks on kind of the pull the curtain back and here are the 10 to 12 ways that you as an individual investor are getting taken advantage of.
Yeah.
Right? Because that system is built for the corporation, not the client.
Yeah.
And I start to kind of unpack this stuff, and people inherently, they can sense it, right? I mean, especially now, there's so much information. People are looking at, how am I getting screwed? Where's the risk in this? What's true? What's not? they can sense it's there.
Right.
That industry is really good at burying this stuff and telling a story and spinning certain things.
So let's take like a specific example, like 401k retirement plan. Your company offers a 401k and you take it. Like what are some of the things to watch out for? Or some of the things that you are potentially just getting screwed?
Yeah, man. So first of all, we could talk about retirement plans all day, right? You're so limited in typically what you can invest in those. They're usually fee heavy. And retirement plans in general, the government's figured that out. So they give you a small tax break up front to let it grow tax free, and then they're going to tax your ass when you take it out, and it's compounded for 30 years, right? Unless you're able to self-direct that account and put it in specific investments that can really move the needle for you, and get creative with how you do that, which really it comes down to the investments in general, right? The average investor, and most people don't know this, and this is always fun for me. I challenge when someone comes in for a consultation, because I work on a fee-for-service financial planning. So if you have your advisors, great, right? You're getting non-biased fiduciary advice from me.
Yeah.
I love to see the accounts that are 6 to 10 different mutual funds, some exchange traded funds, a couple stocks, right? The average investor owns 10,000 investments or more. They have no idea, right? So it's positioned as, oh, you're properly diversified. Look at everything we've done to justify this 1% fee.
Right.
Diversification, by the standards of modern portfolio theory, which guides all of this advice, after 30 individual holdings, there's no more benefit for diversification. So now you're so watered down, and people wonder why the average investor, the S&P 500 has made 10% the last 10 plus years on average. The average investor has still made less than that.
Wow.
And that's why.
The fee structure too was one of the things when I first learned about that, it was like a mind-blowing thing because they make it sound like it's not a lot. It's like, oh, we take our 1.5% or whatever.
Percentage is a theory.
But then you start really peeling back what that means, and you compare that to like when you're taking factors off of your compound interest over a 30 to 40 year time period. We're talking like hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Like potentially millions, depending on how much money you have in the account.
Then you throw the tax implications on top of that.
For when you take the money out.
Yeah. Yep.
So what do we do? How do we make sure we don't get screwed and we keep our money?
I've changed my whole, and I did. So I had a long period of reflection of what am I doing here? I built this huge business outside looking in, and we worked. I grew up, I drank that Kool-Aid, right? Sure. It's a fee for service on that amount of assets. I was very financially comfortable, and I could have rode that wave forever. Right. But I don't, my parents taught me to have some morals and responsibility for the people you're working with. And
how old are you at this time?
I'm 42 now, so I was 39.
Got it.
So, executive director at Morgan Stanley, under 40, it's all the things, right? So inside that ecosystem, right? Nobody expected me just to call it in one day and go, look, I don't feel good about this. Wish you guys the best. I'm out of here. There's a better way to do it. So we reverse everything. So I took all of the good things from that industry and left all the bad. And I kind of point out all of the bad stuff, the way people get taken advantage of. And the reality is, there's so many things we could talk about here, man. But like financial planning, I think it's the craziest thing that you save and project, right? And I've done over 20,000 financial plans over the last 20 years.
Wow.
You save, and everyone wants to know, what's your number? How much do I need to then pull a income stream from this account that's invested in stocks, bonds, maybe some other things, right? Why wouldn't you buy your time back first? And that's where my reverse financial plan came about, is let's start buying your time back with passive income out of the gate.
Yeah, like now. Not in when you're 68.
Don't do it when you're 68.
Yeah.
Because the 2008 comes and it wipes out, which is a whole thing of false diversification. You think you're diversified from all these investments, which really, you can argue stocks and bonds trade in accordance with each other now. They're so correlated. It's not like it was even 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And then you're going to pull one income stream. And then you study what the ultra wealthy do. they don't have one income stream. They have multiple income streams, right?
Mhm.
From very specific assets.
Yeah.
They own real estate, they own small business, and they stay liquid.
Yeah.
So you work off those three pillars and diversify your income streams from those three core silos of asset,
Yeah.
right? Which is backed typically by a hard asset that you can go see and feel and touch and know what you own, know why you own it. And most people can go ask their advisor, and I know this because I was guilty of this. If my clients would have came to me and said, hey, what are my top 10 actual holdings in my portfolio?
No clue.
I guarantee 99% of the advisors can't answer that question.
Sure.
But you're paying that guy 1% every year
Right.
to watch over your investments. It's insane.
To watch over them.
Yeah. It's insane.
So basically, the way around it is to not, like you're saying, reverse retirement plan. So basically, you're not focused on, you're not trying to get people to focus on retirement, what happens in 30 years from now. You're trying to get people to focus on how can I increase my income in the next 1 to 3 years
100%.
through these like really proven models, like real estate or small business or something.
Become financially free when age is on your side,
Yes.
right? Let's get you financially free as fast as possible now, instead of waiting to see what happens and what goes wrong in 30 years.
Right. It's only going to get more difficult.
100%.
Pensions are drying up. The Social Security is going to be a joke by the time we get to retirement age. There's a lot of the 40-40-40 plan of, work 40 years and then retire, 40% of your income.
Right.
All that's like 40 hours a week, 40 years, 40% of your income. It's like, well, that maybe would have worked before when there were strong corporations that were around for a really long time and they paid their pension and everything was good and you got Social Security to help and you got all these other things. But it's like now that's what I tell people that are my age. I'm like, we are not going to be able to save our way to retirement. We are going to have to earn our way to retirement.
100%.
And the faster you can figure out how to earn your way to doing that, the more freedom you're going to enjoy your entire life, not just when you're retired. And then the more you set yourself up for like the golden years of that time period where you just have options, you have choices. You're not forced to go be a greeter at Walmart because you don't have the skills of the new era. And it's been a long time since you've been in like a career workforce and but you got to work because you don't have enough money. And, just like,
it's a terrible vicious loop.
It literally, dude, like it gives me anxiety thinking about that, like to be in my 60s or 70s and not have any money. I'd like,
and that's why I walked away from the business that I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so talk me through now. So like if you're sitting down with a client, they're 35, they make 6 figures and they're just trying to figure out what to do with them. They got a little bit of money left over now. They got some savings and they're just trying to figure out what to do with their money. Like what do you sit down and talk through with them?
So one, I kind of reset their mindset, right? I teach them what they've been taught on saving, on investing, what's right about it, what's wrong about it. In my experience over 20 years starting with small clients, right? With a retail investor mindset, moving to the ultra wealthy, right? And success leaves clues, as we all know. Look at the Forbes 400 list. All of their money is made in small business or commercial real estate. 90% of it.
Wow.
Maybe you're a tech startup, something like that.
Sure.
The vast majority. So whether you're 35, 45, 65, right? The name of the game is still the same. Buy cash flow, don't pay tax. That's what ultra wealthy people do.
Buy cash flow, don't pay tax.
Buy cash flow, don't pay tax, and don't lose money.
Where do you find cash flow?
Commercial real estate, small business investments, whether it's a direct acquisition, it's a private equity fund. Like right now, my partner and I run a fund. I modeled all of the best things from Morgan Stanley, and one of the best things that built that business was I used alternative investments because at the time I was the young guy and everybody had their gray-haired stock and bond guy. So I had to be different, tell a different story.
Yeah.
So I focused on private equity and private real estate and private debt to build that business and be unique. So now I offer direct access to those types of investments that we've done the due diligence on that you probably wouldn't be able to get access to at a Morgan Stanley if you didn't have at least $10 million liquid. If you're an accredited investor, now you're in the game.
Okay.
And now you've cut out 6 layers of fees to make an actual impact.
So you guys basically just have like a simple, like what, rev share, profit share structure for the fund. And so you buy into the fund and then you get quarterlies or monthlies or annuals?
Yeah. So that pays quarterly.
Okay.
It's the best of both worlds. So it's preferred equity.
Okay.
So it's lower on the risk scale than true direct equity ownership.
Okay, define that. What's preferred equity versus...
So basically the bank gets paid first if something went wrong. Then there's preferred equity, and then there's true pure equity investment.
Okay.
To simplify it as best I can, right? So a little bit lower on the risk scale, right? If something did go wrong, but you're diversified over, in that fund, it'll be 100 plus businesses.
Okay.
Okay. It pays current cash flow because we're buying the baby boomer business that doesn't have a succession plan. The kids don't want it, but he's made his widget for 40 years and it's boring, recession proof. And we're talking pest control and garage door repair. Roofing,
dry cleaners, car washes,
all that stuff.
Yeah.
Basically everything,
which are
except
the best
bars
businesses.
And restaurants. Yeah.
They're the best ones.
So you buy a, sometimes 30, 40-year track record. They print cash.
Yeah.
They haven't done enough sales and marketing and better operations, right? Because they're working in the business to make whatever widget they do. So you come over the top of that, you buy the cash flow, and then you can excel the valuation of that. And that's how most people do it. On the wealthier side.
Are you installing operators in each of these businesses, or like how does that work?
Yeah, so typically the fund is either partnering with my partner, Kyle Mallion, on that, has a wonderful track record. I sought him out because I wanted to recreate this style of fund.
Okay.
He trains and coaches and educates people. If you want to go be a business owner, how to find it, how to acquire it, how to fund it, how to grow it, scale it, sell it.
Got it.
Right. So now he's got these trained people. Coaches go over the top of these businesses. So you've got somebody trained with your skill set, very specific buy box of what they buy.
Yeah.
Everything's a minimum 20% profit margin in the fund. So now you've got a trained person in there. They're day-to-day boots on the ground. They have coaching over the top of them. You've got a track record of the business and you've acquired all the customers and the goodwill and everything already.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a much different risk profile. And that pays double-digit income out of the gate. And you get to 20% annualized returns if the growth targets are hit.
So you're saying double-digit income. So like, just to, again, simplify things, and just tell me if you're not allowed to say something based on, regulations or whatever. But if a credit investor comes in, they drop $100K in the fund, is there like a guaranteed preferred rate of return that you're getting every year based on like what you expect the performances of the businesses to be? Or is it like you get 20% of profit, whatever that comes out to being? Or?
So here's how it works. Can't say guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed, of course. But we're buying businesses, the buy box, so to speak. A business is not being acquired, whether it's a minority ownership or full ownership in the fund, if you don't have a minimum net 20% profit margin. Okay. So there's already cash flow there.
Yeah.
Right. And a 10-year track record. So we're paying out 12% current income, split up over the year, paid out quarterly. And then you get a catch up, what's called a special dividend. At the end of the year, collectively, they look at the growth of the portfolio of businesses. And the goal is to get to a 20% annualized rate of return.
So you get it like almost like a bonus check at the end of the year? Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Exactly.
Interesting. So really, like right now, it would be kind of more advantageous for investors to kind of move away from like, buying real estate and look more towards small businesses.
Yeah. You still have to, I'm a risk manager first, right? So you have to navigate top down. What are markets doing? What market cycle are you in? Where are we at fiscally, economic policy, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Commercial real estate is going to have trouble. I think most people kind of inherently can see that.
Yeah.
The banking system has a lot of issues, which will spill over to the stock market. And the reality is you have no control over publicly traded stocks and bonds.
What about residential real estate?
Residential real estate, look, you can always find a good deal. Right?
Sure.
We talked about this
The deal is the deal. If it's a
deal is the deal.
But it's like
residential is a bit
rules,
different than commercial, right? I think you're going to see more issues in commercial, what's defined as commercial real estate.
Is that just an overabundance of loans? Is that like lack of demand because of people working virtually? Is it kind of a perfect storm mixture of high interest rates and everything else mixed together?
It's a bit of a perfect storm. Okay. What the Fed has created by lowering and rising interest rates and printing money.
Yeah.
And all of these loans were derived. It's interesting, 10% of the exposure in commercial real estate lending is with the major 5 banks.
10%.
10% now, 90% with all the other banks, regional,
Sure.
on down. Before 2008, it was the opposite.
Wow.
Right? So it tells you something. Those banks, they're not stupid, right? The Morgan Stanleys, the JP Morgans, they know what's going on,
Yeah.
right?
So they're
So
just
those banks
stopping.
have all of this debt on the books.
Yeah.
Rates have changed.
Significantly.
Their price of money has changed. They don't have enough deposits on demand in a lot of cases. That's why you see a run on a bank like you did in Silicon
The
Valley,
Silicon Valley Bank, yeah.
right? So a lot of those loans potentially will default. Now, who knows what the Fed does? And there's talks of assumptions they'll lower rates next year to kind of right size that and provide a little more liquidity.
The election cycle's coming up.
Election,
which,
all that
everybody
stuff.
wants to look better around that time.
But when you look at it as a risk manager first, there's definitely a higher risk level there
Yeah.
with a lot of unknowns.
Just unknowns. Yeah, exactly. That's the big thing, man. It's like, so my wife and I are actually buying a franchise right now. And that's the exact reason. It's like anytime before it was like, hey, we have a little bit extra money. Let's put it in a real estate something, a fund a buddy runs or whatever, buy a house with whatever, buy a flip with my parents, something, put some money in real estate. And now it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to do that.
So right now we're focused on liquidity.
Yeah.
Right. Keep cash on the sidelines because sooner than later, you're going to see a lot of opportunity in commercial real estate.
It's like cash is like, to me, like cash is never king until it is. You know what I mean?
That's right.
It's like,
That's right.
It's like you don't want any cash.
And at
then
least
all of a
money
sudden
markets are
want a lot of
paying
it.
you something now, right? So
Sure.
it's much better than it's been the last few years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you buy cash flow in other places, right? So you're looking at, in my situation, my opinion, you're looking at private business acquisition, whether it be a fund or direct ownership or syndication, whatever it may be. And then private credit, private debt, right? You become the bank for these types of projects. And there's a huge opportunity there.
Give me a little more information about that.
So, you can...
Is this like a fund that you guys operate, or is this kind of... in your fund, you do debt and...
We do some debt in the fund,
Okay.
but we also do direct
Mostly
syndications.
equity.
I'll give you a great example. Right now we have we are first lien, we are the bank for a A-class multifamily property in Cleveland.
Okay.
Right? It's worth $8 million. We're putting 40% leverage on it.
Okay.
And it's paying 12% to our investors.
When you say you're putting 40% leverage, so you put 60% down and 40% is financed.
So we're actually coming in, they need some more liquidity to finish the renovations.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, you're talking, so you didn't buy it. You're saying this is the short term.
We're the bank.
Got it.
Yep. They already own the asset. They need some liquidity to finish renovations.
Got
it's
it.
a 12-month loan secured by an $8 million asset.
Okay. So when you say 40% leverage, then you're saying that you lend to them 40% of the current value of the property.
That's right.
Got it.
So there's a lot of room in there for protection if something went wrong and they didn't pay, which they've already escrowed all of your interest.
So
right.
Got
so things like that where you're securitized by an asset that's worth more than 2 times
the
what
money
you
that
have
you have
out
to put
on
into
it.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
It's a different risk profile.
Yeah. And then they pay typically higher interest because they didn't have to go through and get all their financials audited by a bank,
right?
and
that's
they can get the money.
Opportunity in private credit.
Yeah.
Right. People use that term loosely, but when banks tighten like they have.
Yeah. Just getting fast access to capital, you're willing to pay more to get access to that capital.
100%. Yep.
Okay.
There's opportunity. You just need to navigate the markets and find what makes sense.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. It's just so hard. Like when I have a lot of friends that I grew up with that just like they're not in the business world at all. They're not. They don't think about it. They just like they have the 401k. Maybe they have a match on it, and they put money that they have the match, and then they spend everything else. Just like they have the 401k, and then they like, well, after I put money in that, and after taxes gets taken out, it's like I got whatever $6,500 a month coming in. That means that's the amount of money I can go spend every month.
Yep.
And it's like, I guess, it's just like, but that like, you're trusting so much of your entire future. It's like, it's a bummer because it's easy for me to say that people should be more interested in finances because I'm really interested in finances.
Yeah.
But it's like somebody else that, whatever goes to church telling me that I should be interested in church because they love church.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, I don't, so I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? So like, it's easier for me to say that you should be interested more in your finances. But to me, it's like, it's so much more than that. If you take zero interest in your finances and you leave it up to some dude that you're trusting in a chair that you never even met before because your boss told you that this is the 401k plan that most people sign up for, and then you're just going to leave that up to that, like that, it's not just your finances that you're leaving up to somebody else. It's literally your lifestyle, your freedom, your entire future that you're leaving to somebody else. That's like tangible. It's really difficult for me to like articulate to people like how dire the circumstance is, that you cannot just trust that, you know, the 401k plan has your back,
Could not agree
the
more.
Government is totally on my side and helping me retire better.
Right.
It's just like, you got to do something.
It's
man.
a
You gotta
false
be
sense of
proactive.
security.
Yeah.
You know, I think the biggest failure in life, you know, our kids are about the same age,
Yep.
you know, which puts a different perspective on the world, right? To me, my biggest failure in life is if I could not provide for them in the way that I want to, that would kill me. You know,
Yep.
it hurt me to my core.
Yeah. Eat me
right?
up, man.
And to your point, you're leaving all of your financial security to somebody that you really don't know what's going on. You don't know why you own it.
Yeah.
You don't know how it works in a lot of cases.
It's
But that's
it's a
the way
recipe
you've
for
been
disaster.
trained to do it. So that's why
Right,
everybody
exactly.
does it. Right?
To be fair,
It's not to a detriment of the investor.
totally.
Right?
To be fair,
Wealth
yeah,
management
you're-
does a very good job of marketing that this is how it's done and this
Yeah.
is why you do this. And
right,
everyone does it. So
and
you
nobody
should
was
too.
taught any different.
That's it.
You know, that's the
Goes back to our beginning of the
the
conversation.
education, yeah.
Practical
Right,
knowledge, man.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, just I don't know how many. Like, if I throw out a percentage, it would just be totally me making up a number, but it's got to be a large majority of people that don't even understand how their credit card APR works.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because when I was in high school, I just was like, oh, I'm a math guy, right?
Yep.
24% interest. That means if I buy $1,000 item, I pay 24%. Well, that's not too bad if I'm trying to delay payments on that or whatever,
Mhm.
you know, but it's like, that's not how APR works.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you have to actually pay that sum every year you carry the balance
Yeah.
on a monthly basis. It's like, so your minimum credit card payment's like, oh, my minimum, I can make my minimum payment. It's only
problem.
$54 a month.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? But like $54, like 30 of it's going to interest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're not actually paying that. It's not built for you to, you know what I mean? It's just,
Yep.
people don't have the information. And if you don't actively pursue the information, it's not going to like get dropped in your lap, unfortunately. It's just it's a epidemic of financial illiteracy that is going to be ultimately
That's exactly it.
detrimental to an entire generation of people.
And that's exactly why I changed from that model to, you know, my passion is education on this topic across the board. And my skill set just happens to be working with a higher net worth client. But,
Yeah.
you know, it spans all things start to finish.
Sure.
Credit card debt. I mean,
So let's help some people out then at the end of this, just
Yeah.
really basic financial things. So, you know, say somebody's listening to this, they make 80 grand a year. They have less than $5,000 in their savings account. They have $8,000 a month in expenses, and they have $15,000 in credit card debt, and they have no idea why they keep losing money.
Yeah.
Like where do you start?
You start by establishing your baseline, right? Find what's taking away from your wealth,
Mhm.
right? Cut that. So now you're net positive at least.
So first thing, look at what you're spending money on and cut the fat.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep. Credit card debt, figure out a plan to pay that down as fast as possible.
Yeah. Get rid of all high interest debt, number 2. Yeah.
And then start to establish a game plan. Now you can go on offense.
Mhm.
And if I were to tell anyone, and if I did it all over again, I would be buying cash flow.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
However you can do that, however much you can afford. I mean,
Mhm.
now there's crowdfunding sites and things like that where you can buy into commercial real estate projects for not much money, right? And build your way to buying your time back and being financially free.
What's the most amount of cash you should just have sitting in a bank? Like, you should have an emergency savings account, right? Like, in case something happens with your job or you know, something unforeseen happens, you got to replace all your tires on your car, your transmission blows, whatever.
Yep.
You want to have emergency savings. What should that account look like?
Yeah. So, you know, for the basic level of that, if it's just protection against risk that you just mentioned, a year's worth of salary is probably fine.
Okay.
You know,
And that's fine to keep in like just a Chase bank account.
just savings, money
Okay.
market account.
Yeah.
Now you can earn 5.5% on that.
Where do you get the money market account?
It's your local bank.
So Chase would have an option where you could just go in and be like, hey, I want this not to be a savings account. I want it to be a money market account, and I want to keep the
Money
in this.
market, savings. Yeah. The terms are kind of interchangeable.
Yeah,
depending
but
on the institution, but
this same account 4 years ago would have paid
Nothing.
1.5% interest or something like that.
Not even. Less than 1%.
Okay. And now it's paying over 5.
Yep.
Okay. So you have that money there. And then basically now you have a little bit of excess on your income. If you've done everything that we just talked about,
Sure.
You're out of credit card debt and you're get yourself out of that freaking crazy high interest, just bury you till you have no more money left debt. Get out of that as fast as you can, any way that you can. And then you have a little bit of excess money. So just start putting this away and then looking for opportunities and
save until you reach
deals.
critical mass.
Okay.
Right? You have to be able to invest. Your level of net worth, liquid net worth, affords you different opportunities. We talked about if you're an accredited investor, which is $1 million liquid net worth minus your primary home, or there's an income test.
Yeah.
Right? If you're married, $300,000 a year for the last 2 years, you're single, $200,000. Right? That allows you to get into more private style investments that we've discussed previously in this episode. But if you're not, you can still find the crowdfunding. You can find that type of stuff that gives you access to those style of investing. But the thesis remains the same, right? Buy cash flow, minimize your tax on that.
Buy cash flow, minimize cash. Man, this has been a great conversation, Dana. Where can if somebody's like, that's all sounds awesome. It sounds like way too much work to go try to vet anything else. How can I just give you money? Where do people do that?
That's usually how it works out. You can find me Cornell Capital Holdings. Holdings with an S.com. That's my website. I'm on there. Email's on there.
Perfect.
All social media, Cornell Capital Holdings.
Cornell Capital Holdings. If you want to go connect with Dana and be on the lookout for a podcast that he's going to be launching soon.
It's going to be fun.
I'm going to keep hounding him.
Pull the curtain back and start revealing all these secrets of wealth management. It's going to be fun, man.
Cool, dude. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. Hope you have a good rest of the trip in Vegas. For those listening, watching, be sure to check out Dana, everything that he's got going on. Check out some of the content he's putting out there. And then you guys have an event coming up as well, right?
We do. Yep. So Kyle, who I mentioned before, Kyle Malian and myself doing a joint event, be in Carlsbad the February 7th, I believe.
Cool.
So if anyone's interested, half of it's on small business acquisition. If you want to break free and become a business owner and buy into that American dream, he's coaching, teaching all of his life lessons on that. I'm redoing your mindset, showing you how to maximize the assets you have, minimize tax liability, and then we'll show some live examples day 4 on how to implement that.
Where can they go to grab a ticket to that?
Again, just shoot me an email, go to cornellcapitalholdings.com, reach out, and we'll get you connected with our team to set it up.
Perfect. Cornell Capital Holdings. That's where you can go to learn everything about Dana, to go to the event, to give him some money if you got some money laying around and you're scared to put it in real estate like I am right now. Dude, thanks so much for coming on. Remember, everybody watching this, leave every relationship better than you found it. Catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.